Yeah.
Um, all right, we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when
Morning.
or where you are watching this Facebook Live. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Tolu Olabintan, CEO, founder of Living Spring Family Medical Center here in the awesome city of Mansfield, Texas. If you're watching this live, hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, hashtag replay. I am honored and excited to have another topic today discussing ways we can help improve quality and quantity of life. And I'm so happy to have you here, Miss Carrie Brauninger. Did I do good last
You
name?
did good. It's
Yeah.
manager. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. And for those
Yeah.
who are watching, I wanted you to know that we're having a talk, and the topic is, Doc, any tips on how to thrive being alone during the holidays? And I'm really happy to have you on here, Miss Carrie. And that being said, please kindly introduce yourself. Who are you, and what do you do?
Yeah. So my name is Carrie Brauninger, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm based out of the Metro Denver area. And my day job is I'm a therapist within a primary care doctor's office up here. And then I also own a private practice called The Other Path Therapy and Coaching. So kind of help people through their stressors.
Awesome. I like what you do. I love what you do. Actually, more than like it, I love what you do. But
Likewise.
Um, I had a question though. It's why do you do what you do? What got you into this field of healthcare?
Yeah, good question. So I think I always knew that I probably didn't want to kind of sit behind a desk and just run numbers. One, I'm not good at math, like most people with an LCSW. So just had to kind of self-select out of that. And I like people, right? I like people. I like interacting with people. I like getting to know people. So that's kind of generally why I do what I do.
Mhm.
And then in terms of my private practice, I do that because the niche that I work with is really important to me. Sort of being in the therapy world, I think there's a bit of a gap in terms of sometimes people really understanding or kind of being informed in terms of the impact of that. So the niche that I work with is kind of extended singleness and then being childless, not by choice. And I am both of those things.
I love what you do, and I really love the niche because clearly there's a need, and I like that you kind of narrowed it down to like, you know what, this is a population I want to serve because there's a big need, and I can relate to some of the things, the challenges they're going to. I think you commit you will be able to relate better to patients, especially when you feel their pain points too. So cheers and kudos to you. I love it. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Now, what are some of the common causes you see as causes of loneliness around the holidays?
Yeah. So I think there are kind of some practical reasons, right? Which is distance. I think we're all expanding in terms of moving away from families. And then I think the cost of being able to go and visit our family is prohibitive for a lot of people. So just to kind of put that one out there, I think distance is one. The other thing that I think could create some loneliness as well, particularly around the holidays, is what the holidays typically mean in our head, right? They mean spending time with family. They mean gathering, a lot of traditions. Holidays can conjure up a lot of, it's not only about this holiday that's coming up, but all the previous holidays, right, that we've had, good and bad. So I think in terms of what they mean to us is a big piece that can feed loneliness. So if you're used to being around others or you're used to having some type of family dynamic and now you're not, it can feel even particularly lonely. And this is one that I talk about in terms of a lot of different things, but there's just a lack of representation of people spending holidays alone in terms of
Mm,
what we're seeing and watching. Um, I'll speak for me too, but it's when people have conversations, everybody asks you, oh, what are you doing for the holidays? Oh, what are you doing? Right. And so there's just an underlying expectation in society, I guess, right, for lack of a better word, that you're not spending them alone. So if you are spending them alone, it can feel particularly kind of othered, right? Which just then feeds into a lot of our sort of own thoughts about what that is. But I think those are some big reasons why people feel that way, particularly the lack of representation, right? If we're watching movies, Hallmark movies, for better or worse, kind of get the rap on this. But the person who's single doesn't want, or alone doesn't want to be alone. They're not doing anything fun. They look miserable, or they're alone because life is chaotic for them. It, Not pleasant stuff. And then the storyline of the movie is typically them searching for a partner or not being alone. So there's different reasons to be alone, which I think are nuanced within that. But all of those reasons come down to we are sent a message that we shouldn't be.
Mm, mm, mm. So almost like, if you're alone, it must be a bad thing when it's not necessarily true.
Right. Or there's something defective in you
That makes
that's making you alone during this holiday season when nobody else is alone,
hmm, hmm.
which isn't true, right? I think COVID kind of expanded some of that, not to go down that path, but many people got to try out being alone for the holidays.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
hopefully there's some more compassion around that.
I love that. Even the way questions are asked too. Um, so you mentioned something. You said what holidays mean to you in your head as a common reason, causes of loneliness. Because someone's alone doesn't necessarily mean they're lonely,
Right.
right? Um, but and that's going to segue to my next question. Is it okay to spend the holidays alone? And I ask that question to give a better perspective to those who are on the outside who may be watching and say, like, maybe they're like it's none of your business, and they're actually happy that they're hanging out with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Is it okay to spend the holidays alone? And why?
Yes. Yes. It's okay to do what you want within legal parameters of our world, right? It's absolutely okay to spend the holidays alone. If you feel like spending the holidays alone is going to shine your light brighter than being around people who will dim your light, right? Kind of words that I heard Oprah use that I'm obsessed with. Um, then do that. Do that. If you are in a space where you don't want to hang out with other people, that's okay too. I would suggest having a plan for what you're going to do, right? And make it something where you are spending that time again doing something that feeds you, not literally, but kind of spiritually or uh, just in terms of doing things that you want to do. But it's absolutely okay. Um, it, yeah,
Hmm. Wow, a lot of depth in what you're saying. Now, I'm going to ask this. So, but now on the other side of the spectrum. So, for those who are on the outside who are watching, or the family members of those who are alone,
yeah,
how would you advise them to ask this question? Because I would like to think a lot of the time it's more oh, I'm concerned. What are you doing? It's just a conversation piece. Is there a better way to ask that question?
Ask, are you going to be alone?
Yeah, meaning like, what are you doing for the holidays, or to get like find out the plans without sounding so condescending, or because I'm sure family members are watching who are like, well, we don't mean it that way. We just want to ask how what you're doing and how you're doing, and how we can help make the holiday season a good time for you as well. And
Yeah,
like, is there a better way to word that? Would you say?
yeah. So I think it's okay to ask that. It's then just paying attention to your response. It's it, these are get to know you questions, right? Or these are genuine questions to get information. Nothing's in behind them is laced, but it's the follow up to it, right? So if somebody says, I'm just going to lay low, I'm going to hang out with my dog, right? And we're going to do XYZ, leave it at that. Say, oh, that sounds nice. That sounds fun. Kind of allowing somebody to say, this is what I'm going to do. And then you respecting that person's choice, just like they would, just like you would for anything else. And being available if they call you, or it gets to be the holiday and maybe they change their mind, maybe they don't.
Mm,
But I think supporting somebody in the choice that they're making.
I'm taking notes. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
taking notes.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that question like segues into a lot of things in life. Like in the world that I live in a lot, right? With like people are single and childless. And you get asked, do you have children all the time, right? And it's not that question that it's the issue. It's the response to to the answer that then people get uncomfortable and then people start blurting out stuff that's probably meant to be supportive, but comes out real backwards sometimes, which
well,
I think happens in this situation too. Because again, people aren't used to the answer to be like, no, I'm going to choose to be alone or I'm going to be by myself.
well,
And then if somebody does say they're by themselves, um, you would want to read the room, but pity isn't always a helpful response either.
mm, mm. Wow. I love how you say you're paying attention to your response to the person,
Hmm.
and not also being careful also not to impose your own definition of what a good time should be, but really
Right.
listening, and not blurting out answers. Just I'll give an example. I'd ask someone very close to me what they would want for their birthday. That would come over and we would come hang out, and they were like, "No, I don't want that." And I'm like, "Oh, no one should be alone on their birthday."
Right. That's a great example.
And so we went over, got the whole family, kids. We went over, brought food, and I love this. They looked miserable, and I thought it was more oh my goodness, they felt bad, they were by themselves or something. And so later I checked in, like, oh my goodness, I'm like, you seem so sad, everything okay? And finally, they would come to tell me that I really didn't want company. Like, you messed up my day.
Mm.
And now there in that opportunity, one could go, well, I meant to do this. Well, it didn't communicate that, because what they had told you was that they wanted to be by themselves. So it was important to respect that. You could check in, you could send a video note, you could do different things to show people love, but respecting their own definition of celebrating their birthday. And I learned a very valuable lesson. And I was so happy they were able to give me that feedback after, because I asked. And they were like, yeah, I really didn't want you over. Other people had tried. I said no, and you included. So very, very
Yeah.
important to respect people's definitions of how they want to spend a holiday, and being thoughtful and being careful, um, you know, about responses, that you're not imposing your definition on others, so they don't feel even worse that you asked the question. Um,
Yeah.
Powerful, powerful. Now, you had already mentioned earlier some of these tips, but I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit and just say, how do you encourage those who are by themselves, for the holidays, to get the most of the holiday seasons? Because I love how you said earlier that have a plan. But sometimes you ask the question, what are your plans? Oh, nothing, I just stay home. So it's like, oh, okay, let me feel your plans then. Let me
Yeah.
schedule one for you. But what would you say is a good way, um, for them to get the most of the holiday season?
Yeah, I think this would be obviously really individualized. I think a couple of ideas to throw out there that people then can choose. One, again, is have a plan. Like, what are you going to do on the holidays? And what do you want to do? Right. So we know what you may not want to do or what you're not able to do, right? Which is be in this big setting where there's lots of other people around. Okay, great. And what do you want to do? So um, some suggestions that I usually kind of suggest to people is if you do have people that maybe you want to connect with, but you either can't be there in person or you don't want to connect with them for 8 hours when there's alcohol involved and a certain mix of people that you're like, I'd rather not do that. FaceTime or kind of Zoom um, um, interactions. I was going to say meetings, but it wouldn't be a meeting with a social situation. And you can have a time limit on it, and you can still have some of that interaction if you want. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. Think about some of the traditions around the holidays that you do like. Do you like getting in the car with Starbucks and looking around at Christmas lights? You can do that on your own. Do you have a pet? Do you have certain traditions or things like that that you'd like to do with your pet? One thing that a lot of people do is they go to the movies on the holidays. Go to the movies if you would like to do that. Again, thinking about ways in which you're still um, giving yourself some activities to do if you want to do them. I usually talk to people about, is there something that you wouldn't normally do on a daily basis that you would determine would be like special that you could do on that day? Is there food or something, right? A lot of traditions, involve around food. Is there food that you would like to have on the holidays? Or if you would like to binge a Netflix show, that's okay too. Just some different ideas. And some of that is sort of, are you voluntarily spending your holidays alone or involuntary? And I think if you're involuntarily doing that, these are some options for that. I think if you're spending the holidays alone due to grief, or someone's passed away or things like that, if you're ready, what is something they like to do that you could do to honor that? I think if you're a loved one trying to support someone through that time, um, don't ignore the elephant in the room. Bring it forward. It's not going to trigger them necessarily or kind of ruin their holiday. They're already thinking about that person. And knowing that somebody else is too can sometimes be comforting.
I love that. Address the elephant in the room. Because more than likely they're thinking about it. Don't think you bringing it up is what spurred the conversation.
Right.
Um, hmm. This is good. This is good.
Oh, good.
Now, so we talked about this a little bit, but just to kind of center it back and bring it back to those around who are saying, okay, Doc, this is great. I love that we're having these conversations. I'll be more mindful in my conversations, in my response, in reading cues. How do you advise those of us who know of people or loved ones who would be alone this holiday? How do we support? How do we support them?
Yep. Again, I would ask them. And when they give a response, if they say that they want to hang out, then it might be, we're so excited to hear that. What is something that what would you like to do? Here's what we're doing. I'd love to be able to incorporate that into our plans. If they don't want to hang out, then it can be, I can understand that. And I want you to know that we love you. I want to respect your
Hmm.
wishes and respect where you're at. And I want to let you know that if you change your mind, reach out to me. I'm not going to bring it up again because I want to respect you. And I want you to know our door is always open. Something to that
Beautiful,
effect. Yeah.
beautifully said.
Yeah.
We ask, listen actively to what they're saying, and respond accordingly, and leave the window open for them to change their minds as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome,
Absolutely.
awesome, awesome. So this has been awesome, and I have people who will
Yeah.
watch this in replay, who will watch this later, who are like, okay, this Carrie is awesome. I would like to connect with her. I would like to
Yeah.
work with her one on one. where can people connect with you, Carrie?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I hang out on Instagram a lot. And that's kind of my community of where I know social media has a lot of cesspools too in it, but there's also some really beautiful community on there. And so that's where I go. And I'm at The Other Path Therapy and Coaching is my handle for Instagram. My email is Carrie, Carrie, at theotherpaththerapyandcoaching.com. It's a mouthful. And then I have a website, www.theotherpaththerapyandcoaching.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we've already posted that in the comment section so people
Oh,
can connect with you, reach out to you, maybe have you come speak to their group, or
yeah.
work with you one-on-one. But I really appreciate you taking time this Monday morning to come chat with us.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. For those of you who are watching, please remember caring and sharing. Please tag those who would find this useful, forward it to them. And I'm hopeful that we'll implement a lot of things that we learned today on how we help our loved ones navigate through this season, or our neighbors, or whoever else fits this bracket. And if you or anyone you know is looking for a thorough, a passionate, and um, a doctor who's an advocate for all patients, I am she. Please refer them to me. And I have one more one more request to make though. Please like, subscribe to this channel. When you do this, it helps amplify the message that this platform provides, and it helps empower people to live long and well. Thank you again, Carrie, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.